So let's walk me through a situation. Walk me through a typical situation. I'm driving a Nissan Leaf. I'd prefer a Model S, but in my imagination, I'm even downscaling that. So, so I'm driving my Nissan Leaf. I'm going to plug it in at a charging station in Santa Cruz, for example, because I've gone over there to do business at Zero Motorcycles or something like that. So what happens? I drive up, I pull in front of the charger. Walk me through what happens next.
So you open up your iPhone or your Android-based phone, you open up our mobile app, and you select the charger by a 8-digit unique identifier, or you can take a picture of the QR code, scan a QR code, and it'll let you know that, hey, this is Bill, he's got money on his account, or his credit card is linked to this account, and you can start charging. It's as simple as that. So you're just using your mobile phone to access the charger versus having 5 different membership RFIDs in your wallet.
All right, I got to have some little card or something to swipe. This way I just simply, it's on the phone then. Okay, and is there a charge for that or the smart app? Or?
So the site host, if it's Zero Motorcycles, they may charge you whatever their energy cost and profit they want to charge you, but there's no charge from our end for that.
Okay. So in the transaction then, so I'm just walk me through sort of once it goes from the phone, it gives me a thing that says, okay, Bill, you've got money or whatever, go ahead and start charging. What happens sort of in that electronic thing? So it goes from my phone, it then goes into the cloud, it goes to you guys. What happens then?
Exactly, and it just matches. It says Bill is a member or signed up and has money in his account, and our cloud. It's all of the access control, payments, everything's done at the cloud level.
Okay.
So we don't actually get your credit card information. That goes to our third-party billing provider.
Okay.
But it just all the functionality occurs, all the transactional related event occurs at the cloud.
Okay, so then what happens at the charger? Let's say it's got a lock on it, or however, or to get it opened up, then it sends a message then to that charger to say, okay, Bill's good, release it, or allow him to start charging, or whatever.
Exactly right. That's right.
So as I'm doing my business in there, the temperature outside is going up, air conditioners are starting to kick in, and things like that. The grid's starting to get active as it's approaching an afternoon peak, So what's happening then? How do you sort of control what's happening with the voltage and amperage and things that are charging that battery?
Great question. So it's still early days in terms of dynamic pricing and real-time pricing and things like that. FERC 755 was a new regulation that came into effect to allow for fast ramping, getting paid more for fast ramping generation at the grid level. So if you've got something like an EV which can turn on or turn off pretty quickly, there's a higher payment for that, but it's still very early days. PJM on the East Coast has trialed, the grid operator on the East Coast has trialed some of that with a few hundred vehicles, but it's not something today where we can offer you $1 off if you delay your charging or what have you.
Right.
But ultimately, that's where it'll go. It'll say, hey, Bill, it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Air conditioning loads at this particular transformer are quite high, and we're going to have to charge you $2 more than normal. Are you okay with that? Or, hey, Bill, if you delay till 11 p.m. at night or midnight, we'll save you $2 off your normal charging price, things like that. So that's still being worked out.
Okay, all right, but I assume that you've got developers there that that's sort of when we get to that point, we can integrate that code into the system and respond then.
From a functionality, a technical standpoint, we're already there.
Okay,
we can turn up and turn down your charging in 0.5 amp increments. Already. So we actually did a big pilot in Germany, in Berlin and Hamburg for the German government, along with the big utility and BMW and Mercedes, where excess wind power in Germany is a big problem.
Right.
Variability at night.
Right.
on the grid is never a good thing. So we actually took about 100 vehicles and dumped an aggregated load to those vehicles to push more energy out of the grid. So technically we can do it. It's just from an economic standpoint and a mechanical standpoint and a process standpoint, we're still not there yet.
Okay. So what do you see as sort of? I mean, we just passed Plug-in America, which I think is sort of headquartered there in the Bay Area. Just had this big this big announcement that they expected either yesterday or over the weekend that the 100,000th plug-in electric vehicle will have been bought here in the United States, and that's a positive thing. Of course, that's probably not that's a tenth of the way to where President Obama wanted us to have this million vehicles by 2015. So where are you guys? So what are you guys thinking in terms of growth? Where are we going to be? Where are we going to be at here? In 2015, for example.
Yeah, I mean, you read different reports and you get a wide range. And a lot of people have gotten crushed over the last 5 years trying to predict the number of EVs. What I would say is, I think EVs are now here to stay. If you drive the Tesla Model S or the BMW Active E, you realize that every other car on the road, petrol car on the road, is obsolete. And, it's literally the Model S. It's not about being green, even though that's where how we started. It's not about that. It's just a better car. I mean,
right. Yeah.
My wife, I have a BMW Active E, and she did not want to drive it. But now that she's been driving it for about a year, she doesn't want to drive any other normal car because the torque, the acceleration, and when you lift off the pedal, the accelerator,
right.
Regenerative braking kicks in, so the car automatically slows itself down. So the sensitivity, the control you have over the car is just such a better experience.
Right.
So I think, with the i3 coming out, the BMW i3 coming out this summer, the Model S, Tesla's now focused on a mid-level, mid-price car, which we need. The Chevy Volt, the Toyota Prius plug-in. I mean, you're seeing all the major manufacturers coming out with really solid cars. So it's no longer a question of, if it's going to happen. The velocity of what's going to happen, how fast it's going to happen. It is a marathon. We're talking about infrastructure. We're talking about changing a consumer's behavior of how they fuel their car. Most people are afraid of, range anxiety is a big concern for most people. Once they drive an electric vehicle for a while, they realize that it's not an issue. It's not that often that I drive from San Francisco to LA, and when I do, it's not a big deal for me to rent a car or fly or what have you. So,
right.
Yeah, I think the big tipping point will either happen when oil hits, a much higher number like we had in 2008 or so with $148, $149 barrel oil. That'll move things. I mean, now a friend of mine, or a friend of a friend of mine rather, just leased a Nissan Leaf, a 2013 model for $89 a month, and $3,100 down. Right? I mean,
wow.
I've just driven 12,000 miles in the first year with the Active E. I've probably paid less than $200 for charging. So it's
yeah, but you get a discount, right? Just write the code so that when it comes up, I get the tip.
I get paid to charge. Yeah.
There you go. I love it. Well, it's all research, right? I mean, it's R&D. So, well, let's talk. I mean, I noticed that we tend to think in terms of this stuff being for public charging, spaces. So the spot out in front of the Kroger's department store, the parking or the meters that might be at at the local airport there in San Francisco that you pull in and charge while you're gone, those kinds of things. But I notice you're doing something with respect to the residential. So how would that? I would assume that in the residential situation, that's going to have either a separate meter if you're in California using time of use charging or billing and things like that. So where do you see that for the residential side of this thing? What's that piece?
So, look, the vast majority of charging is done at home. You're parked at home for at least 10 hours or so every day. And level one works in a lot of instances. Again, we're at the forefront on the smart grid side of things. So there are kind of new standards, internet-based standards like Smart Energy Profile, which is trying to link up all the big appliances and energy consumers in your house to an IP-based network and manage that. So instead of running your washing machine at 4 p.m., you can run it at midnight. Same thing for your EV charging. So we're very focused on kind of the smart home and optimizing charging and trying to make money for the consumer at home, and that's really our core focus at home.
Okay, so do you see a role for we're talking here green lots, we're thinking of vehicles, but are you seeing some kind of a similar role to be played at the smart home? And let's say the person never gets and buys an electric car. Maybe they live in New York and they don't need one, but they they use mass transit or cabs or whatever. Is there a role to be played where your software finds its way into managing their apartment appliances and things?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it seems logical. There are a lot of players trying to smarten up your home.
Okay.
Again, we have billions of dollars that have been invested in these smart meters, and literally here I'm in PG&E territory, Pacific Gas and Electric here in California in the Bay Area, and I literally get my bill at the end of the month, and I can't get real-time information on my energy consumption at home, which is all I need is a mobile app that says, hey Ron, you're using X amount of dollars or kilowatt hours right now. I still don't have that, right? So I think we have a long way to go. It is a complex problem. There are a lot of smart people and smart money chasing the home and building an environment.
So you're going to stick to chasing the cars then?
Exactly. It's big enough for us.
Okay. So you've got this announcement sort of coming out on the 29th here. What have I missed? What have I not focused on? Here's your chance to make the big announcement, the pitch, if we haven't done so already.
Yeah, so we're excited about our version 3.0 of Greenlots Sky, which, as I mentioned, is fully based around open standards, which is huge. So if you're a site operator, you want to build your own network, whether you're a utility or a government or retail operator, what have you, a condominium, etc. You want the flexibility to change your software, or change your hardware at any point, right? You don't want to get locked into a solution. So that's the beauty of our latest release. The mobile app's pretty cool as well. So we're very focused on making the experience for consumers, for drivers, much better. So let's say you're at a high-tech company in Silicon Valley here, and they've put in 15 chargers, and you have to share chargers. So it's not very common that you get your own network level 2 charger that it's Bill's charger and you're the only one using it. You got to share, right? So it's like queuing, where if your colleague shows up at 8 and you show up at 11 in the morning, you can put yourself in a queue, and so when he's done charging at noon or what have you, you can move your car there. You can message the person who's charging at your workplace charger and say, hey, anonymously say, hey, when do you think you're going to be finished? So we're adding communication. I mean, we're doing all these cool little things around the EV driving community just to make it a better experience. And then on the smart grid side of things, I think, as we talked about, I think there's just tremendous opportunity. EVs are all about grid efficiency, right? And we're just barely scratching the surface there. So we probably have the most comprehensive set of smart grid standards. So there are a lot of competing standards right now. So there's OpenADR, there's Smart Energy Profile, as I mentioned. There's a home plug GreenFi technology, which is PLC based, which communicates between the car and the charger. I mean, there are all these kind of smart grid standards. So we serve as a translator for all of those. So you as the operator, you don't have to worry about all that. We're trying to simplify all this for you as a network operator or an EV driver.
All right, great. Well, Ron, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today, and look forward. Keep us obviously in the loop on this thing, and at some point, let's chat about how I can get my startup as successful as your 7.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help, Bill.
All right, that sounds great.
You focused in the EV space, or is it something?
No, it's an EV space, but in this case, it's 2-wheeled EV space.
Just having moved back from Asia about 1.5 years ago, you look to China and Southeast Asia, and bicycles, electric scooters, electric motorcycles. the cost of the battery is just so much lower, and so the upfront cost, it just makes a lot of sense. I mean, there are over 100 million electric scooters in China already.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's a big thing, and I think it's going to eventually hit here. When you think about resource utilization, a typical electric bicycle weighs about 1/4 to 1/3 of the weight of the person it's carrying. And when you look at an automobile, of course, it's the exact inverse of that. You know, it's multiples of, you know, you got a 120-pound woman, you know, driving a 4,500-pound, you know, Escalade. So, you know, where's that energy being used? Well, the energy is being used to move the Escalade. It's not being used, you know, I think it's like 1/10 of the energy is being used to actually, or 1%, I think, is 1% of the energy actually being used to move that that woman, and the rest of it's all being used to move the iron around her. So I think there's a role that's going to be played here, and I'm kind of like you. I'm trying to build a network that's smart for that. So,
you know, one of the other ideas that, you know, we're an incubator of the Singapore government, and one of the other ideas that we had was kind of a last mile two-wheeler, and something you can fold up and carry around, but it's electric. It'll take you 5 miles, 5 pounds, and $500. And,
right.
I just got too busy with Greenlots, but you know, I think there is that missing piece, and I'm surprised that two-wheelers haven't taken off as much as they should. I mean, it's just
well, I've got some theories as to why that's the case, and maybe I'll share them with you if you're interested. So, when we have time.
That sounds good, Bill.
All right, great, Ron. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All righty.
Right.
Lots of luck. Keep up the good work.
Thanks. You too. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.